Victoria Sterling grabbed Marcus Cole's blueprints and ripped them in half. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Marcus stepped forward. 200 workers stopped. Cranes went silent. Victoria threw the torn papers at his chest. "You're fired. Security escort this man off my property." 2 guards grabbed Marcus by the arms. He didn't resist, but his voice cut through the silence like a blade. "My daughter has heart surgery in 5 weeks. I need this job." Victoria leaned close. Her whisper was ice. "Should have thought about that before you decided to play hero." The guards dragged him toward the gate. His hard hat fell in the mud. Victoria stepped on it as she walked away. But Victoria Sterling had just made the biggest mistake of her life, because in 48 hours, an Army helicopter would land on her construction site. A colonel would step out with classified documents, and the name he would call would turn her world upside down. Comment your city below. Let me see how far this story travels. The guards threw Marcus through the gate like garbage. He hit the ground hard. Gravel bit into his palms. Blood welled up from the scrapes. He didn't feel it. Behind him, 200 construction workers watched through the chain-link fence. Some looked away. Most just stared. A few laughed. Marcus pushed himself up slowly, wiped his hands on his jeans, looked back at the site he'd helped build for 3 years. Ray Patterson, the old foreman, stood at the fence, 64 years old, 30 years in construction. He pressed his hand against the chain link. "I'll get your tools," Ray said quietly. "I'll bring them to you tonight." Marcus nodded once. Then he turned and walked away, 1 foot in front of the other, the same way he'd walked out of that valley in Afghanistan after 4 of his men died in his arms, the same way he'd walked out of the hospital after his wife flatlined, 1 foot in front of the other, because stopping meant feeling, and feeling meant breaking. Victoria Sterling watched from her office window on the 42nd floor. She saw Marcus hit the ground, saw him get up, saw him walk away without looking back. Good. He was handled. 1 less problem. Her phone rang. She answered without looking. Victoria. Her uncle's voice. Board chairman. The man who'd been trying to take her company since the day her father died. "I heard you fired someone on the site today. Made quite a scene." "I handled a liability. That's my job." "Your job is to not create headlines. The union is already asking questions." "Let them ask." "Victoria." His voice dropped. "You're not your father. Stop trying to prove you are." The line went dead. Victoria's hand trembled. She set the phone down carefully, pressed her palms flat on the desk. "You're not your father." No. She wasn't. Her father had been weak. Her father had trusted people. Her father had shown mercy. And her father had driven Sterling Construction to the edge of bankruptcy before a heart attack killed him 2 years ago. Victoria had saved the company, cut costs, eliminated dead weight, made the hard decisions her father couldn't make. The board called her cold. The workers called her worse. She didn't care, because cold kept you alive. Cold kept you in control. Cold meant you never got hurt again. She looked out the window at the construction site below, at the spot where Marcus Cole had fallen. For a moment, something flickered in her chest. Something that might have been doubt. She crushed it. He was just a worker. There were thousands more. She had a company to run. Marcus walked for 2 hours. Phoenix burned around him. 107 degrees. Sweat soaked through his shirt. He didn't notice. His mind was running numbers. Lily's surgery, $47,000. Insurance would cover $31,000, but he'd just lost his insurance along with his job. Savings, $8,200. Deficit, $39,000. 5 weeks to find the money. No job, no insurance, no options. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen, his neighbor. "Mr. Cole, Lily's school called. She had an episode during recess. They gave her the inhaler, but she's asking for you." Marcus's blood went cold. "I'm on my way." He ran. 12 blocks. 107 degrees. Didn't matter. He ran. Lily was sitting in the nurse's office when Marcus burst through the door. 7 years old, brown hair in messy pigtails, lips slightly blue, a nebulizer mask over her face. She saw him, and her eyes lit up. "Daddy?" Marcus dropped to his knees beside her, pulled her into his arms, felt her small heart racing against his chest. "I'm here, baby. I'm here." The nurse spoke quietly. The episode lasted about 4 minutes. We got her stabilized quickly, but Dr. Patel should know about this one. Marcus nodded. His voice was steady, even though his insides were screaming. "Thank you. I'll call him today." He lifted Lily gently. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "Daddy, my chest felt funny again." "I know, sweetheart." Like a bird was trapped inside trying to get out. His heart cracked. "We're going to fix that baby. Remember, the doctors are going to help the bird fly free." "Promise." He held her tighter. "Promise." But promises cost money, and money was something he no longer had. That night, Marcus sat at the kitchen table after Lily fell asleep. Medical bills covered every inch of the surface. Collection notices, insurance denials, payment plans he could no longer afford. He'd called Dr. Patel's office. The news wasn't good. "Mr. Cole, we can't delay the surgery much longer. Lily's condition is deteriorating faster than we anticipated. Every week we wait increases the risk. What if I can't get the money in time?" Silence. "Then, there are charitable organizations, payment assistance programs. I can give you some numbers." Numbers, more phone calls, more begging. Marcus had spent 3 hours calling every organization on the list. Most weren't accepting new applications. 2 had waiting lists of 6 months or longer. 1 told him his income was too high to qualify, even though he no longer had income. The system was designed to break people like him. And it was working. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. Debt collectors had been circling like vultures for months. Something made him answer. Marcus Cole. A woman's voice. Crisp, professional, military. "Who is this?" "Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Webb, United States Army Corps of Engineers. We need to talk about Operation Titan Bridge." Marcus's whole body went rigid. That name, that operation. He hadn't heard those words spoken aloud in 8 years. "Wrong number," he said. "Staff Sergeant Cole, I know who you are. I know what you did. And I know why you disappeared." "I didn't disappear. I left. There's a difference." "Is there?" Marcus said nothing. 12 people are trapped in a collapsed mine in Chile. Rescue workers. The tunnel system matches the geological structure of the caves you mapped in Kandahar province. You're the only engineer alive who knows that configuration. "Then they're going to die, because I don't do that anymore." "They have children, Sergeant. 6 of them have children waiting at home." Marcus closed his eyes, saw Lily's face, saw her blue lips, saw her struggling to breathe. "I have a child too, and she needs me here." "I understand, but I'm not giving up. I'll be in Phoenix tomorrow. I hope you'll reconsider." "Don't bother." He hung up. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from something worse, from the part of him that wanted to say yes. The next morning, Marcus was at the Union Hall by 5 a.m., first in line, resume in hand, desperation hidden behind a calm face. By 9 a.m., he'd talked to 8 contractors. 4 weren't hiring. 2 had heard about the incident at Sterling and didn't want trouble. 1 said he'd call Marcus back. He wouldn't. The last one, a heavy-set man named Brutowski, looked at Marcus's resume and laughed. "Military experience, son, this isn't the Army. We follow OSHA regulations here, not combat manuals. I've been in construction for 8 years since I got out. And you got fired from your last job for ignoring protocols." Brutowski shook his head. "Word travels fast. Sorry. Can't use you." Marcus stood outside the Union Hall staring at nothing. 8 years. 8 years of building a new life. 8 years of keeping his head down, following rules, being invisible. 8 years of pretending the nightmares didn't come, that the faces of dead men didn't haunt his dreams. And one woman with a clipboard had destroyed all of it in 30 seconds. Cole? He turned. Danny Reeves from Sterling Construction stood there with 3 of his buddies, young guys, late 20s, the kind who'd never struggled for anything in their lives. "Heard you're looking for work," Danny said. "Having trouble." Marcus said nothing. "Maybe if you didn't act like you're better than everyone else, walking around with your military bullshit, acting like the rules don't apply to you." "Walk away, Danny." "Or what? You'll get me fired too." Danny laughed. "Oh wait, you can't. Because you're nothing now. Just another unemployed loser who can't take care of his family." Something shifted in Marcus's eyes. Danny saw it. His smile faltered. "What did you say about my family?" "I said you can't take care of them. Everyone knows your kid is sick. Everyone knows you're broke. Hell, everyone knows your wife left you before she died because she couldn't stand being married to a failure." Marcus moved so fast, Danny didn't see it coming. 1 second, he was standing there smirking. The next second, he was pinned against the wall, Marcus's forearm across his throat. "My wife didn't leave me," Marcus said quietly. "She died of cancer. She died in my arms while I told her I loved her. She died asking me to take care of our daughter." Danny's face was turning red. His friends stood frozen, too scared to move. "And my daughter. She has a congenital heart defect. She needs surgery to survive. So every hour I work, every dollar I make, every breath I take is for her. Not for me. For her." He pressed harder. Danny's eyes bulged. "So you can mock me. You can call me a failure. You can laugh at my misfortune. But if you ever speak about my wife or my daughter again, I will break every bone in your body and make it look like an accident. Do you understand?" Danny nodded frantically. Marcus released him. Danny slumped against the wall, gasping. "Get out of my sight!" They ran. Marcus stood alone in the parking lot, breathing hard. His hands were trembling again. Control. He'd almost lost control. 8 years of keeping the soldier buried. 8 years of being Marcus Cole, construction worker, single dad, nobody special. And in 30 seconds, Staff Sergeant Cole had surfaced. The man he'd sworn he'd never be again. That afternoon, Marcus picked Lily up from school. She came running out like always, backpack bouncing, pigtails flying. But she was slower than usual. And she stopped halfway to catch her breath. Marcus scooped her up. "Hey, baby girl, you okay?" "Just tired, Daddy. My chest feels heavy." He held her closer. "Let's go home and rest." "Can we get ice cream first?" "Please, I got a star on my homework." He thought about the $32 in his wallet. Thought about the bills on the table. Thought about the surgery that might not happen. "Sure, baby, ice cream it is." Because some things mattered more than money. They walked to the little shop 3 blocks away. Lily held his hand, chattering about her day. But she had to stop twice to rest. Each time Marcus felt his heart crack a little more. At the shop, Lily got strawberry with rainbow sprinkles. Marcus said he wasn't hungry. She didn't believe him. She held out her cone. "You can have some of mine, Daddy. Sharing is caring." 7 years old, sick, struggling, and still thinking about others. He took a small bite. Delicious. "Thank you, sweetheart." They sat on a bench outside watching cars go by. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby." "Why do you look sad?" He forced a smile. "I'm not sad." "Yes, you are. Your eyes get heavy when you're sad, like you're carrying something really big." She saw everything. She always did. "Just tired, sweetheart. Long day." "From work?" He paused. "Yeah, from work." She nodded seriously. "You work really hard. You're the hardest worker in the whole world." When I grow up, I'm going to build things too. And I'm going to build you a really big house so you don't have to be tired anymore." Marcus pulled her close, buried his face in her hair, blinked back the tears. "That sounds perfect, Lily. Absolutely perfect." That night after Lily was asleep, Marcus sat on the edge of her bed. He watched her chest rise and fall, counted her breaths, listened for the slight wheeze that had become more frequent lately. Her nightlight cast soft shadows on the wall. A stuffed elephant lay beside her pillow. The blanket had unicorns on it because unicorns were her favorite. 5 weeks. In 5 weeks, doctors would cut open his daughter's chest and repair her heart. Or they wouldn't, because he couldn't pay for it. His phone buzzed. Text from Ray Patterson. "I have your tools. Also some information you need to hear. Meet me at O'Malley's bar in an hour." Marcus looked at Lily one more time. Then he called Mrs. Chen to come sit with her. O'Malley's was a dive bar near the construction district. Sticky floors, bad lighting. The kind of place where men went to forget. Ray was in a back booth, 2 beers already on the table. Marcus slid in across from him. "Thanks for getting my tools." "They're in my truck. But that's not why I asked you here." Ray slid a folder across the table. "What's this?" "Your file. From Sterling HR. I have a friend in the admin office." Marcus opened it. Employee records, performance reviews, all excellent until the final entry. "Terminated for failure to follow company protocol. Recommended do not rehire." "That's not the interesting part," Ray said. "Keep reading." Marcus flipped to the next page. A memo, dated 3 days before he was fired. "From Victoria Sterling to department managers, RE Quarterly Efficiency Review. All departments will identify bottom 10% performers for termination. No exceptions. Names due by Friday." Marcus looked up. "I wasn't in the bottom 10%. "No, you weren't. You were in the top 5%, highest accuracy rating on the entire site." "Then why was I fired?" Ray leaned back. "Because Victoria Sterling needed to make an example. The board was pressuring her about costs. The union was pushing back on overtime cuts. She needed to show she was in control. So she picked me. She picked someone who wouldn't fight back, someone who would take it quietly and disappear." Ray paused. She didn't know who she was picking. Marcus closed the folder. "It doesn't matter. What's done is done. It matters because she was wrong. And wrong can be fixed. I don't have time to fight a wrongful termination case. I have 5 weeks to find $40,000 for my daughter's surgery." Ray was quiet for a moment. Then, "I got a call last night. Military. Lieutenant Colonel something. She wanted to know if I could convince you to help with some operation." Marcus tensed. "I told her I'd talk to you." Ray continued. "But I also told her that whatever you decide, I'd respect it, because I know what it costs to go back. You don't know anything. I know more than you think." Ray met his eyes. "I did 20 years, combat engineer. Same unit type as you, different era. I know the techniques you use because I helped develop some of them. And I know that toolbox you carry has Sapper Team insignia, even though someone tried to scratch it off." Marcus said nothing. "I'm not going to push you, but I'm going to tell you something my CO told me after I lost my first man." Ray leaned forward. "The dead don't need our guilt. They need us to live, to honor them by building something, not by destroying ourselves." Easy words. Hard truth. Ray stood up. "Your tools are in my truck. Keys are under the mat. Take them whenever you want." He put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Whatever you decide, Cole. You're a good man. Don't let one bad woman make you forget that." He walked out. Marcus sat alone with his beer, staring at the file, thinking about choices. At 11 p.m., Marcus was walking home when a black SUV pulled up beside him. The window rolled down. Lieutenant Colonel Webb looked out at him. "Get in. I told you not to come. And I told you I don't give up easily. Please, 10 minutes." Marcus looked at the SUV. at the colonel's face, at the future stretching out in front of him. He got in. Webb handed him a tablet before he even closed the door. This is what we're dealing with. Satellite imagery filled the screen. Tunnel schematics, geological surveys, oxygen level readings that were dropping by the hour. The rescue team broke through the initial collapse 2 days ago. They've progressed 100 meters, but they hit a granite formation 6 hours ago. At current drilling speed breakthrough in 70 hours. The trapped workers have 40 hours of oxygen left. They'll be dead before you reach them. Yes, unless we find another way in. Marcus studied the surveys, the rock formations, the angle of collapse. His mind worked automatically. 8 years of trying to forget, and the patterns were still there, burned into his brain like scars. There's a secondary fault line, he said quietly. Here, the survey missed it because it runs at an angle. If you drill at this point 17-degree deviation from vertical, you'll hit a natural chamber that connects to the main tunnel. Webb stared at him. Our engineers have been working on this for 3 days. You found that in 30 seconds. I spent 18 months mapping similar formations in Afghanistan. The geology is almost identical. Then you understand why we need you. Marcus handed back the tablet. Understanding isn't agreeing. What would make you agree? He looked at her. Nothing. I have a daughter who needs surgery in 5 weeks. If I go to Chile and something happens to me, the surgery will happen regardless. Marcus paused. What? Webb pulled out a document. Official Army letterhead. Full coverage of all medical expenses for Lily Cole. Surgery aftercare, ongoing treatment, regardless of the outcome of this operation. You can't just do that. I already have. General Morrison signed off this morning. Why? Why would the Army pay for my daughter's medical bills? Because the Army takes care of its own. She paused. And because we need you. 12 people are going to die without your help. Their children are going to grow up without parents. You're the only person on this planet who can stop that. Marcus stared at the document, at his daughter's name in official type, at the numbers that had been crushing him for years suddenly zeroed out. This could be fake. Call Dr. Patel. He received confirmation 2 hours ago. Marcus pulled out his phone, dialed. It rang twice. Mr. Cole? Dr. Patel's voice was confused. Is Lily okay? It's very late. The Army contacted you about her surgery. Silence. Then, yes, this evening. They've agreed to cover all costs. Mr. Cole, I don't know what you did to deserve this, but it's remarkable. Lily's surgery is fully funded. Marcus couldn't speak. Mr. Cole, are you there? Thank you, doctor. I'll call you tomorrow. He hung up, sat in silence. $40,000. Gone. Just like that. His daughter was going to get her surgery. She was going to be okay. What do you need me to do? He heard himself say. Webb's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes softened. We fly to Chile at 0600. You'll lead the geological analysis team. Find us a path to those workers. And if I can't, then 12 people die. But they were going to die anyway. At least this way they have a chance. Marcus looked out the window at the Phoenix night. At the city where he'd tried to build a new life. At the apartment where his daughter was sleeping. I need to say goodbye to Lily. Of course. And I need you to understand something. He turned to face Webb. I'm not the man I was 8 years ago. I'm not Staff Sergeant Cole. I'm not Foundation. I'm just a father who's been barely holding it together. That's not what your record says. Records lie. Webb was quiet for a moment. Then, maybe. But the men you saved don't lie. 47 families got their fathers and sons and brothers back because of what you did in Afghanistan. That's not nothing. I lost 4. You saved 47. 4 men died following me. 47 men lived because of you. She paused. The 4 who died. Do you think they'd want you to spend the rest of your life punishing yourself? Or do you think they'd want you to keep saving people? Marcus didn't answer. 0600. Webb said. "I'll send a car." The SUV stopped. Marcus got out. He walked into his building, climbed 3 flights of stairs, and stood outside his apartment door for a long time before going in. At 5:30 a.m., Marcus knelt beside Lily's bed. She was still asleep, one arm wrapped around her stuffed elephant, breathing softly, peacefully. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "I have to go away for a few days, baby," he whispered. "Mrs. Chen is going to take care of you. You be good for her, okay?" She stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. "Daddy?" "Hey, sweetheart. I'm sorry I woke you." "Are you going somewhere?" "Just for a little while. For work." She sat up, rubbing her eyes. "But you got fired." His heart ached. She knew. Of course she knew. "I got a new job, baby. A special one. Just for a few days." "What kind of job?" "Helping some people who are stuck underground. They need someone to find them a way out." Lily's eyes went wide. "Like a rescue, like superheroes do." "Something like that." "Daddy." She grabbed his hand. "You're a superhero." His eyes burned. "No, baby. I'm just your dad." "That's the same thing." He pulled her into a hug, held her tight, memorized the feeling of her small arms around his neck, the smell of her shampoo, the sound of her heart beating against his chest. "I love you more than all the stars, Lily. I love you more than all the bridges in the whole world. I'm going to come back to you. I promise." "I know, Daddy. You always keep your promises." He kissed her forehead, laid her back down, pulled the unicorn blanket up to her chin. "Go back to sleep, sweetheart. When you wake up, Mrs. Chen will make you pancakes. The ones with chocolate chips. I'll make sure she knows." Lily smiled sleepily. Her eyes closed. Within seconds, she was asleep again. Marcus stood there watching her for a long moment. Then he picked up the photo from his nightstand. Him and Lily at the Grand Canyon. Both of them smiling. A moment of pure happiness frozen in time. He slipped it into his jacket pocket, walked to the door, looked back one more time at his sleeping daughter, and stepped out into a world he thought he'd left behind forever. 200 miles away, Victoria Sterling sat in her office reviewing the quarterly reports. The numbers were good, better than good. She'd cut costs by 12%. Productivity was up. The board was satisfied. But something nagged at her. She pulled up the personnel files from yesterday, found Marcus Cole's record. Performance reviews. Excellent. Accuracy rating. 99.2%. Safety record. Perfect. Attendance. Never missed a day in 3 years. She frowned. Opened the security camera footage. Rewound to the moment before she fired him. Watched him work. He moved with precision, confidence, muscle memory, not like someone guessing. Like someone who'd done it 1,000 times under pressure. She zoomed in on his technique. The welding angle. The reinforcement pattern. Something wasn't right. She opened her laptop, searched for military construction techniques. 20 minutes later, her face had gone pale. Marcus Cole's method wasn't wrong. It was advanced, designed for rapid structural work in combat conditions. Accuracy rate 98.7%. Standard method 91.3%. She hadn't fired him for breaking protocol. She'd fired him for being better than everyone else. Her hand trembled slightly. She closed the laptop, pushed the feeling down. It didn't matter. What was done was done. She'd made a decision. She stood by it. But the doubt stayed. And in the back of her mind, a question began to form. A question she wouldn't be able to answer until an Army helicopter landed on her construction site and a colonel stepped out with classified documents, and the name he called changed everything she thought she knew about the man she had destroyed. The military transport lifted off from Phoenix at exactly 0600. Marcus sat in the back, strapped into a seat designed for soldiers half his age. His body remembered this. The vibration of the aircraft. The smell of jet fuel and metal. The way your stomach dropped when the wheels left the ground. 8 years. 8 years since he'd been on a military flight. 8 years since he'd worn dog tags around his neck. They were there now, not his own. The tags of 4 men who never made it home. Rodriguez, Thompson, Ewan, Martinez. He'd carried them every day since Afghanistan, hidden under his shirt. A reminder of what happened when he failed. First time flying military since you got out. Marcus looked up. Lieutenant Colonel Webb sat across from him, tablet in hand, eyes sharp. Yes. How does it feel? Like putting on clothes that don't fit anymore. Webb nodded slowly. They'll fit again. Muscle memory. That's what I'm afraid of. She studied him for a long moment. You want to tell me what happened in Afghanistan? You read my file. Files don't tell the whole story. They tell facts, dates, outcomes. They don't tell why a decorated combat engineer walks away from everything and disappears into a construction site in Phoenix. Marcus looked out the small window. Nothing but clouds and blue sky. 4 men died because I made a call. The file says 47 men lived because of the same call. The file is wrong. His voice was flat. 47 men lived because Rodriguez held a position he should have abandoned. Because Thompson drew enemy fire so the others could move. Because Ewan refused to leave his post even when the tunnel started collapsing. Because Martinez carried 2 wounded soldiers on his back for 300 meters with a bullet in his leg. He turned to face her. I just drew the map. They did the dying. Webb was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward. You built a bridge under enemy fire in the middle of a sandstorm. You created an extraction route through unstable tunnels that 3 engineering teams said was impossible. You went back into a collapsing cave system to pull out survivors when everyone else had evacuated. And 4 men followed me into that cave. 4 men trusted me to get them out, and I didn't. The cave collapsed. That wasn't your fault. I was the one who said it was stable enough for one more run. I was wrong. The words hung in the air between them. Webb sat back. So you've been punishing yourself ever since, working jobs beneath your skill level, living in poverty, refusing to use the talents that could have made you successful. I've been taking care of my daughter. You've been hiding. Marcus's jaw tightened. Call it what you want. I call it waste. 4 men died, yes. That's tragedy. But you're still alive, and you're letting their sacrifice mean nothing by burying yourself. You don't get to tell me what their sacrifice means. No, but they might. She pulled out a folder, handed it to him. This came in last night, from the families. Marcus opened it slowly, letters, 4 of them, handwritten. The first was from Maria Rodriguez, Carlos's wife. Dear Sergeant Cole, I know you blame yourself for my husband's death. He didn't. In his last letter home, he wrote about you. He said you were the best engineer he'd ever served with. He said he'd follow you anywhere. He said if anything happened to him, it would be because he chose to be there, not because you failed. Please stop carrying guilt that isn't yours. Carlos wouldn't want that. Live your life. Be happy. That's what he'd want for you. Marcus's hands trembled. He couldn't read the others. Not now. Maybe not ever. They don't blame you, Webb said quietly. They never did. They should. Guilt isn't logical, Sergeant, but at some point you have to choose. Keep drowning in the past or start swimming toward the future. Marcus closed the folder, slipped it into his jacket next to Lily's photo. When we land, he said, what's the situation? Webb recognized the deflection. She allowed it. Critical. The trapped workers have approximately 36 hours of oxygen remaining. Our drilling team has made progress, but not enough. You'll be taken directly to the command center to analyze the geological data. Who's running the operation? Chilean Mining Authority with support from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. But they've been spinning their wheels. They need someone who can see what they're missing. And if I can't see it either, then 12 people die. Webb met his eyes. But I don't think that's going to happen. I've read every report from Kandahar. You see things other engineers don't. You think differently. That's why you're here." Marcus looked out the window again. Somewhere below, his daughter was waking up, eating chocolate chip pancakes with Mrs. Chen, going to school, living her life. She was counting on him to come back. He couldn't fail her. He couldn't fail anyone else. Meanwhile, 2,000 miles north, Victoria Sterling's morning was falling apart. "What do you mean the union filed a complaint?" Her assistant stood nervously in the doorway. "They're claiming wrongful termination, Ms. Sterling, on behalf of Marcus Cole." "That's ridiculous. He violated company protocol." "They're saying his method was actually superior to standard protocol. They have documentation." Victoria's stomach tightened. "What kind of documentation?" "Efficiency reports, quality assessments. Apparently, Mr. Cole's techniques resulted in significantly better structural integrity than the company standard." "Where did they get this information?" "I don't know, ma'am, but they're demanding a review, and they've contacted the press." Victoria stood abruptly. "The press? Local news. They want a statement about why Sterling Construction fired one of its best workers for using a better method." This was spiraling out of control. "Schedule a meeting with legal and HR. I want a full report on Marcus Cole's employment history on my desk in 1 hour." "Yes, ma'am." The assistant hurried out. Victoria walked to the window, stared down at the construction site below. She'd made a decision. A necessary decision. A decision that showed strength and control. But the doubt that had been gnawing at her all night was growing into something bigger. Something that felt dangerously like a mistake. Her phone rang. The board chairman. She answered. "Richard?" "Victoria, I'm hearing disturbing things about a union complaint, and reporters asking questions." "I'm handling it." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you fired a model employee for doing his job too well, and now it's becoming a PR nightmare. The situation is under control." "It better be, because I've spent 2 years defending you to this board, telling them you have what it takes to run this company. If this blows up in our faces..." "It won't. For your sake, I hope not." The line went dead. Victoria set the phone down carefully. Her hands wanted to shake. She wouldn't let them. Control. She needed control. She walked to her computer, pulled up the security footage from the day she fired Marcus, watched it again. His face when she tore up his blueprints. His voice when he mentioned his daughter. The way he didn't fight back. Any other worker would have argued, would have defended themselves, would have made a scene. Marcus Cole had just walked away. Why? She opened his personnel file again. Read through it more carefully this time. Emergency contact. None listed. Previous employment. Self-employed contractor. Education GED. Military service. Left blank. Blank. Not none. Blank. In Victoria's experience, blank meant hidden. She picked up her phone, called her head of security. "James, I need you to run a background check on a former employee, Marcus Cole. And I don't mean the basic one HR does, I mean deep. Military records, court records, everything." "Any particular reason, ma'am?" "Just a feeling. Something doesn't add up with this man." "I'll have it for you by end of day." She hung up, stared at Marcus Cole's employee photo. A tired face, sad eyes, the kind of face you see and immediately forget. But there was something else there, something underneath, a hardness in the jaw, a steadiness in the gaze. The face of a man who'd seen things, done things. Victoria Sterling was starting to realize she'd made an enemy she knew nothing about. The plane landed in Chile at 1400 local time. Marcus was met by a convoy of military vehicles and rushed to the mine site. 40 minutes of winding mountain roads, dust everywhere. The sound of drilling in the distance. The command center was a chaos of screens, maps, and exhausted engineers. A Chilean officer approached immediately. Sergeant Cole, I'm Colonel Vasquez. Thank you for coming. What's the current status? Not good. We broke through the initial collapse but hit a granite formation we didn't expect. Our drills are making progress but not fast enough. Show me the geological surveys. They walked to a large table covered with maps and printouts. Marcus studied them while Vasquez explained. The main tunnel collapsed here. The workers retreated to a safety chamber here. We've been drilling from the surface at this angle. Marcus traced the rock formations with his finger. His mind was already working, seeing patterns the others had missed. You're drilling through the hardest part of the granite formation. We know, but it's the most direct path. Direct isn't always fastest. Marcus pointed to a spot on the map. What's this anomaly here? Vasquez frowned. We don't know. The survey showed some kind of void, but we couldn't determine its nature. It's a fault line. Runs at an angle, which is why your survey didn't flag it properly. The rock here is fractured, much softer than where you're currently drilling. How can you know that from a survey? Because I've seen this formation before, in Afghanistan. Almost identical geological structure. Marcus looked up. If you redirect your drill to this point 17 degrees from your current angle, you'll cut through in less than half the time. Vasquez stared at him. Our engineers have been working on this for 3 days. You've been here 5 minutes. Your engineers haven't spent 18 months mapping tunnels in the Hindu Kush. The colonel hesitated. If you're wrong, we lose hours we can't afford. If I'm right, you save 12 lives. Vasquez looked at the map. At Marcus. At the clock on the wall showing oxygen levels dropping. Do it, he said to his team. Redirect the drill. Engineers scrambled. Orders were shouted. Machinery groaned as it shifted position. Marcus watched, arms crossed, waiting. Webb appeared beside him. That was fast. The answer was in the data. They just weren't looking at it right. How did you see it so quickly? Because I've been here before. Not this place, but this situation. Underground. Running out of time. Looking for a way out that nobody else can see. Kandahar. Kandahar. Webb was quiet for a moment. You're not just reading the rocks, are you? You're reading the desperation. You know what those people down there are feeling. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. He knew exactly what they were feeling. The darkness. The fear. The hope fading with every hour. He'd felt it himself, trapped in that collapsed cave in Afghanistan, waiting for rescue that almost didn't come. How long until we know if the redirect works? He asked. 6 hours, maybe 8. Then we wait. Back in Phoenix, Victoria's phone rang at 4 in the afternoon. James, what did you find? Something you're not going to believe, ma'am. Try me. Marcus Cole isn't just a construction worker. His military record was classified, but I have contacts who owed me favors. Victoria's grip tightened on the phone. And he was a staff sergeant in the Army Corps of Engineers, attached to Special Operations. His code name was Foundation. He was one of the most decorated combat engineers in recent history. Victoria sat down slowly. What kind of decorations? Silver Star, Bronze Star with V device, Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal. And those are just the ones that aren't classified. What did he do? Officially built infrastructure in combat zones. Bridges, tunnels, fortifications. But unofficially, according to my source, he was the guy they sent into impossible situations. Places other engineers refused to go. He built an extraction route in Afghanistan that saved 47 soldiers during an ambush. He was considered one of the best in the entire military. Victoria's mouth had gone dry. Why did he leave? That part is still classified, but there was an incident. Something involving casualties. After that, he resigned his commission and disappeared. Disappeared? Completely. Changed his name. Moved to Phoenix. Took a job in construction. According to his file, he's been living below the poverty line for 8 years. Raising a daughter alone. Staying off the grid. Victoria closed her eyes. She'd fired a war hero. A man who'd saved dozens of lives. A man who was using military-grade techniques because that's what he'd been trained to do. And she'd done it in front of 200 people. Thrown his hard hat in the mud. Told security to drag him out like a criminal. "Ma'am, are you still there?" "Yes." There's more. This morning his name came up in some military communications. Apparently he's been reactivated for some kind of emergency operation. Rescue mission in Chile. The Army flew him out this morning. Flew him out. Yes, ma'am. Whatever's happening down there, they needed him badly enough to track him down and get him on a plane. Victoria hung up without saying goodbye. She sat in silence for a long time. Then she pulled up her computer and searched for news about Chile. The headlines hit her like a punch. 12 workers trapped in Chilean mine collapse. Rescue efforts race against time. U.S. military sends specialists to aid operation. She clicked on a video. Shaky footage from outside the mine site. Military vehicles. Engineers running. And in the background, barely visible, a familiar figure standing over a table of maps. Marcus Cole. The man she'd fired for incompetence was on the other side of the world, trying to save 12 lives. Victoria's hands were shaking now, and she couldn't stop them. The drill broke through at 2200 hours. A cheer went up in the command center. Engineers embraced. Colonel Vasquez pumped his fist in the air. Marcus stood still, watching the monitors, waiting. "We're through!" someone shouted. "We have contact with the chamber." A radio crackled to life. Static. Then a voice, weak but unmistakable. "This is Pedro Gutierrez. We can hear you. We can hear you." More cheering. Someone was crying. Marcus allowed himself a small breath. The first one in hours. Webb appeared beside him. "You did it. The drill did it. I just pointed it in the right direction. Don't minimize this. Those people are going to live because of you." The radio crackled again. "How many survivors?" Vasquez asked. A pause. Then, "All 12. We're all alive. We thought nobody was coming." Marcus turned away. Walked outside into the cold Chilean night. The stars were bright here. Brighter than Phoenix. Brighter than Kandahar. He pulled out the photo of Lily. Looked at her smiling face. 12 more, baby," he whispered. 12 more coming home." His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen. "Lily had a good day. She drew you a picture of a bridge. She says it's for the people you're helping. She misses you." Marcus smiled. The first real smile in days. He typed back, "Tell her the bridge worked. I'll be home soon." The news broke worldwide by morning. Miracle rescue, all 12 workers saved. American expert credited with finding breakthrough route. Mystery engineer locates path in minutes after days of failed attempts. Videos spread across social media. Footage of Marcus studying the maps. Of the drill breaking through. Of workers emerging from the ground, blinking in the sunlight, embracing their families. And then someone made a connection. A construction worker in Phoenix saw the footage. Recognized the face. "Holy shit. That's the guy Sterling fired last week." He posted it online. Others confirmed. The story spread. By noon, a new headline was trending. Hero engineer was fired days before rescue mission. Construction CEO terminated military veteran for superior work methods. Father desperately needed job for daughter's medical bills. Victoria Sterling saw it first on her assistant's face. "Ma'am, you need to see this." The video had 3 million views and climbing. Comments were pouring in faster than anyone could read them. She fired a hero. Boycott Sterling Construction. This man saved 47 soldiers and 12 miners, and she threw him out like garbage. His daughter needs heart surgery, and she fired him for being too good at his job. Victoria watched her reputation crumble in real time. Her phone rang. The board chairman. She didn't answer. It rang again. Her uncle. Ignored. Again. 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 She turned off the phone, walked to the window, stared down at the construction site where she'd destroyed a man's dignity for the crime of excellence. And she knew with absolute certainty that everything was about to get worse. Because Marcus Cole was coming back to Phoenix. And this time, he wouldn't be alone. The military transport touched down in Phoenix at 0800. Marcus stepped off the plane into the Arizona heat, exhausted but alive. 3 days in Chile. 3 days of tension and calculations and waiting. 3 days away from Lily. It was 3 days too long. Webb walked beside him toward the terminal. The Army wants to debrief you. Standard procedure after an operation like this. How long? Couple hours, maybe less. I need to see my daughter. I know. We'll make it quick. They walked in silence for a moment. Then Webb spoke again. You should know. The story's gotten big. Your name is everywhere. Marcus stopped walking. What do you mean everywhere? Someone connected you to the Sterling firing. The video of the rescue, then pictures of you being escorted off the construction site. It's all over social media. News outlets are picking it up. I didn't want that. I know. But you can't control how people respond to heroism. She paused. There are reporters at the terminal. We can take you out a back entrance if you want. Marcus thought about it. About the attention he'd spent 8 years avoiding. About the quiet life he'd built for Lily. Back entrance. Understood. They changed direction, heading toward a side door guarded by military police. One more thing, Webb said. Victoria Sterling's company has been getting hammered. Stock dropped 15% this morning. The board is in emergency session. There are calls for her resignation. Marcus felt nothing. He'd expected to feel satisfaction, maybe even vindication, but all he felt was tired. That's not why I did this. I know it's not, but it's happening anyway. Webb stopped at the door. What are you going to do when you see her again? I'm not planning to see her again. She might have other plans. Marcus looked at her. Then she'll have to wait. I have a daughter to get home to. He walked through the door and disappeared into the morning sun. Victoria Sterling hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her office looked like a war room. Papers everywhere. Coffee cups stacked on every surface. 3 phones all ringing constantly. She ignored them all. On her computer screen, the same video played on loop. Marcus Cole standing over the maps in Chile. Marcus Cole watching the drill break through. Marcus Cole walking away while everyone else celebrated. The comments section was a graveyard of her reputation. Monster CEO. She fired a hero. How do you sleep at night? His daughter needs surgery and you threw him away like garbage. Her assistant knocked. Ma'am, the board is ready for you. Victoria stood, straightened her jacket, checked her reflection in the window. She looked like hell. Didn't matter. She'd faced worse. Let's go. The boardroom was full when she arrived. 10 chairs. 10 faces. All of them looking at her like she was already dead. Richard, the chairman, spoke first. Sit down, Victoria. She remained standing. I'll stand. Sit. Down. Something in his voice made her obey. Richard pressed a button. A screen lowered from the ceiling. The video played. Marcus being dragged off the site. Victoria stepping on his hard hat. The whole humiliating scene. 300 million views, Richard said. 300 million people have watched you destroy a war hero's dignity. I didn't know he was a war hero. Does that matter? You fired your best worker for using a better method. You did it publicly, cruelly. You made an example of a man who was trying to feed his sick daughter. Victoria's jaw tightened. I made a business decision. You made a catastrophic mistake. Richard leaned forward. Our stock is in free fall. Clients are canceling contracts. The union is threatening a walkout. And every major news outlet in the country wants a statement about why we fired the man who just saved 12 lives in Chile. What do you want me to do? Fix it. How? Richard slid a folder across the table. First, you're going to rehire Marcus Cole, with a significant raise and a public apology. Victoria opened the folder, looked at the numbers. This is a senior management position. Director of Technical Operations. He's more than qualified. He's a construction worker. He's a decorated military engineer who spent 18 months building infrastructure in combat zones. He's designed extraction routes that saved dozens of lives. He's forgotten more about structural engineering than most of our employees will ever learn. Richard's voice hardened. And you threw him away because his methods weren't in your precious manual. Victoria closed the folder. And if he refuses, then you convince him, whatever it takes, because if you don't fix this, Victoria, the board will be forced to take action. What kind of action? Richard didn't answer. He didn't need to. Victoria stood. I'll handle it. You have 48 hours. She walked out of the boardroom with the folder clutched in her hands. 48 hours to save her company. 48 hours to face the man she'd destroyed. Marcus got home at 10 in the morning. He opened the door to his apartment and Lily slammed into his legs like a missile. Daddy, Daddy, you're back. He scooped her up, buried his face in her hair, held on like he'd never let go. Hey, baby girl, I missed you so much. I missed you more. Mrs. Chen said you were helping people. She said you were being a hero. I was just doing a job, sweetheart. That's not what the TV said. Lily pulled back her eyes wide. Daddy, you were on TV. I saw you. You were standing at a big table with maps, and everyone was listening to you. Marcus looked over Lily's shoulder. Mrs. Chen stood in the kitchen doorway smiling. She's been very excited, Mrs. Chen said. Couldn't stop talking about her hero daddy. Thank you for watching her. It was my pleasure. She's a wonderful child. Mrs. Chen gathered her things. I'll leave you two alone. Call me if you need anything. She left. Marcus carried Lily to the couch, sat down with her in his lap. Tell me everything, he said. What did you do while I was gone? I went to school, and I did my homework every night. And I ate all my vegetables, even the green beans, and you know I hate green beans. I'm so proud of you. And I drew you pictures, lots of pictures. Want to see? Absolutely. Lily scrambled off his lap and ran to her room, came back with a stack of papers. This one is you and me at the park, and this one is our apartment but bigger because we're going to have a big house someday. And this one is a bridge. The bridge you built to save the people. Marcus looked at the drawing. Crayon lines, shaky but determined. A bridge stretching across what might have been a mountain. Stick figures walking across it. This is beautiful, Lily. I want to be an engineer too, like you, so I can build bridges and save people. His throat tightened. You can be anything you want, baby. Anything at all. She climbed back into his lap, rested her head against his chest. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart. Are you going to go away again? He held her tighter. I hope not. Promise. He wanted to. God, how he wanted to. I promise I'll always come back to you, no matter what. She nodded against his chest. Okay. I believe you. They sat together in silence. Father and daughter. Survivor and reason for surviving. For a few precious minutes, the world outside didn't exist. Then the doorbell rang. Marcus opened the door expecting Mrs. Chen, maybe Ray Patterson. Victoria Sterling stood in the hallway. She looked different, smaller. The Ice Queen armor was cracked. Her eyes had bags under them. Her usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled. Mr. Cole. Marcus felt his whole body go rigid. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please, 5 minutes. You had 5 minutes to listen when I told you about my daughter. You chose to have me dragged out instead. Victoria flinched. I know, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't pay medical bills. I know that too. They stood there, staring at each other. The woman who'd destroyed him, and the man she was only now beginning to understand. Daddy? Lily appeared beside Marcus. Who's the pretty lady? Victoria looked down at the little girl. Something shifted in her face. Something human breaking through the corporate mask. Hi, sweetheart. I'm Victoria. I used to work with your daddy. Are you the lady who was mean to him? Victoria's breath caught. What? Mrs. Chen told me someone was mean to Daddy at his job. Was it you? Marcus put a hand on Lily's shoulder. Lily, go to your room for a minute. I need to talk to the lady. But Daddy... Please, baby, just for a few minutes. Lily looked at Victoria with suspicious eyes. Then she turned and walked away. Marcus stepped into the hallway, closed the door behind him. Say what you came to say. Victoria took a breath. The board sent me. They want to offer you your job back. I don't want my job back. Not your old job. A new one. Director of Technical Operations. Senior Management. Full benefits. Salary is in here. She held out a folder. Marcus didn't take it. I don't want anything from Sterling Construction. This isn't about what you want, or what I want. It's about making things right. Making things right! Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. You threw my hard hat in the mud. You tore up my blueprints in front of 200 workers. You had security drag me off the site like a criminal. And you did it because I was better at my job than your manual told me to be. I know. Do you know what it felt like to walk home that day, wondering how I was going to pay for my daughter's surgery? Do you know what it felt like to stand at the pharmacy counter counting coins while my daughter struggled to breathe? No, I don't know. Then don't stand here and talk about making things right. You can't make that right. You can't undo that. Victoria's voice cracked. I know I can't, but I can try. Marcus stared at her, at the cracks in her armor, at the human being underneath. Why did you do it? Really? Why me? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. Because you scared me. Marcus frowned. I scared you. The way you worked. The confidence. The techniques I didn't understand. You challenged everything I thought I knew about running my father's company. She paused. And I was already drowning. The board doubting me. The investors questioning me. Everyone waiting for me to fail like my father did. So you made an example of me. I made myself feel powerful by making someone else feel small. It's what my father taught me. It's what I thought leaders did. Her voice dropped. I was wrong. Marcus leaned against the wall, crossed his arms. You know what I learned in the military. The best leaders don't make themselves feel powerful. They make the people around them feel capable. They lift up. They don't tear down. I'm learning that now, the hard way. Some lessons only come hard. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Victoria spoke again. I looked up your record, the classified parts too. Marcus tensed. How? I have resources. What I found? She shook her head. I had no idea who you were, what you'd done, what you'd sacrificed. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. You saved 47 soldiers. You built things in places most people wouldn't survive. And then you walked away from all of it. Gave up the medals, the recognition, the career. For what? Marcus looked toward his apartment door, toward the little girl on the other side. For her. Victoria followed his gaze. She's lucky to have you. No, I'm lucky to have her. She's the only thing that kept me alive after Afghanistan. The only thing that made me want to keep going. What happened there, if you don't mind me asking? Marcus was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant. I lost 4 men, best soldiers I ever served with. We were building an extraction route through unstable tunnels. I said we had time for one more run. I was wrong. I read the report. You went back for them. I went back and watched them die. There's a difference. You tried to save them. Trying doesn't matter when you fail. Victoria stepped closer. Is that why you left the guilt? I left because I couldn't trust myself anymore. Every decision I made, I second-guessed. Every calculation I doubted. And in that worked out gets people killed. So you came here, started over. I came here to be nothing, to be anonymous, to just be Lily's dad. He looked at her, and for 8 years it worked, until you. Victoria's face fell. I ruined everything you built. You tried to, but you also pushed me back into something I'd been running from, that rescue in Chile. I saved 12 people, because you put me in a position where I had nothing left to lose. That's not exactly a compliment. No, it's not. Marcus pushed off the wall. I'm not going to take your job, Victoria. I don't want to work for someone who sees people as problems to be eliminated. I'm trying to change. Trying isn't enough. You have to do. The door to the apartment opened. Lily peeked out. Daddy, are you coming back? Marcus looked at his daughter, then at Victoria. I need to go. Please, at least think about the offer. I'll think about it. That's all I can promise. He turned, took Lily's hand, and walked inside. The door closed. Victoria stood alone in the hallway, the folder still in her hands, wondering if she'd just lost the only chance she had to make things right. The next morning, an Army helicopter landed at the Sterling construction site. Workers dropped their tools. Cranes went silent. Everyone stopped to watch. Victoria was in her office when her assistant burst through the door. Ma'am, there's a military helicopter landing in the parking lot. She ran to the window. The helicopter was already down. Soldiers were jumping out, forming a perimeter. An officer stepped out. Full dress uniform. Colonel's insignia. He walked directly toward the main building. Victoria's phone rang. Security. Ma'am, there's a military officer here demanding to see you. Says it's urgent. Send him up. 3 minutes later, Colonel Harrison walked into her office. Ms. Sterling, I apologize for the dramatic entrance. What is this about Ya? Staff Sergeant Marcus Cole, codename Foundation. Victoria sat down slowly. What about him? The Department of Defense wants to honor him, publicly, for his service in Chile and his previous service in Afghanistan. The ceremony is scheduled for this weekend. Why are you telling me? Because we want to hold the ceremony here, at your construction site, where he was working before he was terminated. Victoria's stomach dropped. Here. It's symbolic. The man who was thrown out returns as a hero. The press will love it. The press? Victoria's voice was flat. This is a PR operation. Partially. But it's also recognition long overdue. Sergeant Cole has avoided acknowledgement for 8 years. He's not going to seek it out himself, so we're bringing it to him. And if I refuse to host it, the colonel's expression didn't change. Then we hold it somewhere else, and the story becomes about how Sterling Construction refused to honor a veteran they wrongfully terminated. Your choice. Victoria looked at the colonel, at the American flag pin on his lapel, at the rows of medals on his chest. She had no choice. She'd never had a choice. When? Saturday, 10 a.m. We'll handle logistics. You just need to be there. And Marcus? Does he know about this? He will. Tonight. The colonel turned to leave, stopped at the door. Ms. Sterling, I've read the reports about what happened here. The public humiliation. The wrongful termination. The fact that his daughter needed medical care he couldn't afford. Victoria said nothing. You have a chance to make this right. Not for the cameras. Not for your company. For a man who deserves better than what you gave him. He walked out. Victoria sat alone in her office, staring at the helicopter through the window. Saturday. 3 days to figure out how to face a man she'd destroyed. 3 days to figure out if redemption was even possible. That night, Colonel Harrison appeared at Marcus's apartment door. Marcus answered with Lily on his hip. His expression immediately hardened. "Colonel." "Sergeant Cole, may I come in?" "I'd rather you didn't." "I understand. I'll be brief then." Harrison pulled out an envelope. "The Department of Defense would like to honor you for your service, both in Afghanistan and Chile." Marcus didn't take the envelope. "I don't want to be honored." "I know. That's why we're not asking permission." "What does that mean?" "The ceremony is scheduled for Saturday, at the Sterling construction site. Your former employer will be hosting." Marcus's jaw tightened. "No. It's not a request. I'm a civilian. You can't order me to do anything." "You're right. We can't." Harrison lowered his voice. "But there are 12 families in Chile who want to thank the man who saved their loved ones, and 47 families across America who have wanted to thank you for 8 years but never had the chance because you disappeared." Marcus looked away. "You've been carrying the weight of 4 deaths, Sergeant. But you've been ignoring the weight of all the lives you saved. That's not balance. That's punishment. I don't need a medal to know what I did." "No. But maybe you need the world to know. Maybe it's time to stop hiding." Lily tugged at Marcus's shirt. "Daddy, what's happening?" Marcus looked down at his daughter, at her innocent face, her curious eyes. She didn't know what he'd done, what he'd been. She only knew him as Daddy, the man who made her mac and cheese and told her stories at bedtime. Was that enough? Or did she deserve to know the truth? "Colonel," Marcus said slowly, "if I do this, if I let you parade me in front of cameras and give me medals I don't deserve, what happens after? After is up to you. You can go back to your quiet life, or you can do something else with the platform this gives you." "What do you mean?" "You have skills most people don't have. You see things others miss. The rescue in Chile proved that." Harrison paused. "There are organizations that could use someone like you. Disaster response, infrastructure consulting, teaching the next generation of engineers. I'm just a construction worker. You were never just a construction worker. You chose to be invisible because you were running from something. But you can't run forever." Harrison held out the envelope again. "Saturday, 10 a.m. Your choice." This time, Marcus took it. Harrison nodded once. Then he walked away. Marcus stood in the doorway, envelope in hand, staring at nothing. "Daddy," Lily asked, "are you okay?" He looked at her, at the only thing in the world that mattered. "Yeah, baby, I'm okay." "What's in the envelope?" "An invitation." "To what?" He opened it. "Read the contents." "A ceremony. A medal. A speech. A chance to stop running. To something I should have done a long time ago." Lily smiled. "Is it something good?" Marcus pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. "I think so, sweetheart. I think it might be." The night before the ceremony, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed holding the dog tags of 4 dead men: Rodriguez, Thompson, UN, Martinez. The metal was warm from his hands, worn smooth from 8 years of constant contact. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispered to the darkness. "I don't know if I deserve it." No answer came. The dead never answered. They just watched, waited, judged. His phone buzzed. Text from Ray Patterson. "You ready for tomorrow?" Marcus typed back, "No." "Good. That means you're taking it seriously. Get some sleep. I'll be there." Marcus put the phone down, looked at the dress uniform hanging on his closet door. Lieutenant Colonel Webb had delivered it that afternoon. Clean, pressed, all the medals already attached. "You earned these," she'd said. "Time to wear them." He hadn't worn that uniform since the day he resigned his commission. 8 years ago. A lifetime ago. He walked to the closet, touched the fabric, ran his fingers over the silver star, the bronze star, the purple heart, medals and ribbons, symbols of things he'd rather forget. "Daddy." He turned. Lily stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Hey, baby, what are you doing up?" "I heard you walking around. Are you okay?" He knelt down, opened his arms. She ran into them. "I'm okay, just thinking." "About tomorrow." "Yeah, about tomorrow." She pulled back, looked at him with those big brown eyes that saw everything. "Are you scared?" "A little." "Why?" "Because tomorrow a lot of people are going to see me, and they're going to expect me to be something I'm not sure I am anymore." Lily tilted her head. "What do they expect you to be?" "A hero." "But you are a hero." "Baby." "No, Daddy. Listen." She put her small hands on his cheeks the way she always did when she wanted him to pay attention. "You saved those people in the mountain. You helped them get out. That's what heroes do." "I also lost people. A long time ago. People who trusted me." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that stopped his heart. "Mrs. Chen says that heroes aren't people who never lose. Heroes are people who keep trying even when they're scared, even when they're sad, even when they want to give up." Marcus stared at his daughter, 7 years old, wiser than anyone he'd ever known. "When did you get so smart?" "I learned from you." He pulled her close, held her tight, let the tears come. "I love you, Lily. More than anything." "I love you too, Daddy." "And tomorrow I'm going to be right there watching. And I'm going to be so proud of you." He carried her back to bed, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. "Go to sleep, sweetheart. Big day tomorrow." "Daddy." "Yeah. Can I wear my future engineer shirt? So everyone knows I'm going to be like you." He smiled, the first real smile in days. "I think that would be perfect." Across the city, Victoria Sterling was having her own sleepless night. She stood in her penthouse apartment staring at the speech she'd written. 3 pages, carefully crafted words, corporate apologies, and carefully worded regrets. It was garbage. She crumpled it up, threw it across the room. Damn it. Her phone rang. Richard, the board chairman. She answered. "It's midnight, Richard." "I know. I wanted to make sure you're ready for tomorrow." "I'm ready." "Are you?" "Because this is the most important public appearance you'll ever make. One wrong word, and this company is finished. I know what's at stake." "Do you?" Richard's voice hardened. "Because from where I'm sitting, you've spent the last week hiding in your office while the world tears us apart. Tomorrow, you have to stand in front of cameras and face the man you destroyed. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Can you do it without making things worse?" Victoria closed her eyes. "I don't know." Silence on the line. "Victoria, I've known you since you were a child. I watched you grow up in your father's shadow. I watched you fight to save this company after he nearly destroyed it. You're not the villain everyone thinks you are." "Aren't I?" "No. You're a woman who made a terrible mistake because you were scared and overwhelmed. That doesn't make you evil. It makes you human." "Human doesn't play well on camera." "Then don't play anything. Just be honest. For once in your life, stop trying to control everything and just tell the truth." Victoria looked at the crumpled speech on the floor. "The truth is that I destroyed a good man because he threatened my ego." "Then say that. The board will never approve that." "Forget the board. Forget the company. Forget everything except that man and his daughter. What do they deserve to hear?" Victoria was quiet for a long time. "They deserve to hear that I was wrong, that I saw him as a problem instead of a person, that I judged him without knowing anything about him." "Then say that, tomorrow, in front of everyone. And if it destroys the company, some things are more important than companies." Richard paused. Your father never understood that. That's why he failed. Don't make the same mistake. The line went dead. Victoria stood alone in her penthouse, surrounded by luxury, drowning in guilt. She picked up a pen, started writing a new speech. This time, the truth. Saturday morning arrived with perfect Arizona sunshine. The Sterling construction site had been transformed. A stage erected where Marcus's workstation used to be. Chairs arranged in neat rows. American flags everywhere. Military personnel in dress uniforms. Camera crews from every major network. And workers, hundreds of them, standing along the fences filling the empty spaces watching. Ray Patterson stood near the front arms, crossed a proud smile on his weathered face. Hell of a thing, the man next to him said. Week ago they dragged him out of here like a criminal. Today they're giving him medals. Ray nodded. That's life. Kicks you down and then pretends it meant to lift you up all along. You think Sterling's apology is going to mean anything? Depends on whether she means it. Words are easy. Actions are hard. At 9:30 the crowd began to buzz. A black SUV had arrived at the gate. Marcus Cole stepped out. He was wearing his dress uniform, every medal in place. His posture was straight, his face calm, but Ray could see the tension in his shoulders, the uncertainty in his eyes. Lily jumped out behind him, holding his hand. True to her word, she was wearing her future engineer shirt. Daddy, there's so many people. I know, baby. Just stay close to me. Lieutenant Colonel Webb appeared at his side. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to face a firing squad. It'll be over soon. Just remember why you're here. Marcus looked at Lily. I know why I'm here. They walked toward the stage. The crowd parted. People reached out to shake his hand, pat his shoulder. Thank him. Thank you for your service. God bless you, soldier. You're a hero. Marcus nodded at each one, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. If he stopped, he might break. They reached the stage. Chairs were arranged in a row. One for him, one for Lily, one for Colonel Harrison, one for various dignitaries, and one for Victoria Sterling. She was already there, standing off to the side, watching him approach. Their eyes met. For a moment, the crowd disappeared. The cameras disappeared. Everything disappeared except the two of them. The woman who had destroyed him. The man she was only now beginning to understand. Victoria spoke first. Mr. Cole. Ms. Sterling. Thank you for being here. I didn't have much choice. No. I suppose you didn't. She looked at Lily. Hello again, sweetheart. Lily pressed closer to Marcus's leg. Hi. That's a beautiful shirt. Future engineer. I like that. My daddy gave it to me. Because I'm going to build things like him. Victoria's expression softened. I'm sure you will. You have a wonderful teacher. Marcus put a hand on Lily's shoulder. We should take our seats. Of course. He walked past her, sat down, lifted Lily onto his lap. Victoria watched him go. Then she took her own seat, the crumpled notes of her new speech clutched in her hands. At 10 o'clock exactly, Colonel Harrison stepped to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. We gather to honor a man who exemplifies the very best of what it means to serve. The crowd fell silent. Staff Sergeant Marcus Cole served his country for 12 years. He built bridges under fire. He mapped tunnels in enemy territory. He created extraction routes that saved lives. And when his nation called him again after years of civilian life, he answered without hesitation. Harrison paused, looked at Marcus. Last week, Sergeant Cole was contacted about a crisis in Chile. 12 rescue workers trapped underground. Time running out. Our best engineers couldn't find a way in. But Sergeant Cole saw what they couldn't. In minutes, he identified a path that our teams had missed for days, Because of him, 12 people are alive today." Applause erupted. Marcus sat motionless, Lily's hand in his. But Sergeant Cole's heroism didn't start in Chile. It started in Afghanistan during Operation Titan Bridge, where he saved 47 soldiers during an ambush. It continued through countless missions we can't discuss publicly. And it continues today in the way he raises his daughter, works beside his fellow citizens, and carries himself with quiet dignity. Harrison's voice dropped. Sergeant Cole doesn't see himself as a hero. I know this because I've talked to him. He carries the weight of the 4 men he lost more heavily than the pride of the 47 he saved. But that's what true heroism looks like. It doesn't seek recognition. It doesn't demand praise. It simply does what needs to be done regardless of the cost. He turned to face Marcus directly. "Sergeant Cole, on behalf of the United States Army and a grateful nation, I present you with the Army Distinguished Service Medal for your extraordinary service in Chile and the Legion of Merit for your lifetime of dedication to your country and your fellow man." Harrison walked to Marcus, pinned the medals to his chest, shook his hand. "Thank you, Sergeant, for everything." Marcus nodded. Couldn't speak. Lily squeezed his hand. The crowd erupted in applause, standing ovation, workers whistling and cheering. Ray Patterson wiped his eyes, pretended it was dust. When the applause finally died down, Harrison returned to the podium. "I'd now like to invite Victoria Sterling, CEO of Sterling Construction, to say a few words." The crowd's energy shifted. Murmurs rippled through the audience, some hostile, some curious. Victoria walked to the podium, gripped the edges with white knuckles. For a long moment she just stood there, looking at the crowd, looking at the cameras, looking at Marcus. Then she set aside her notes. "I had a speech prepared," she said. "Carefully written words approved by lawyers and PR consultants. It was full of corporate apologies and carefully hedged statements." She paused. "I threw it away." The crowd stirred. "What I'm about to say isn't approved by anyone. It's just the truth. And I think Mr. Cole and all of you deserve the truth." She turned to face Marcus directly. 2 weeks ago, I stood on this site and fired Marcus Cole. I did it publicly, deliberately, cruelly. I tore up his blueprints. I threw his hard hat in the mud. I had security drag him off the property like a criminal. Her voice cracked. I did this because he scared me. Because he used techniques I didn't understand. Because he challenged my authority simply by being better at his job than I thought was possible. She looked down, then back up. I didn't know he was a war hero. I didn't know he'd saved 47 lives in Afghanistan. I didn't know his daughter needed heart surgery. I didn't know any of it because I never asked. I never looked. I never saw him as a human being. I saw him as a problem to be eliminated. Silence. Complete silence. That's not leadership. That's cowardice. I was so afraid of being seen as weak that I destroyed a good man to make myself feel strong, and I'm ashamed of that. More ashamed than I've ever been of anything in my life. She stepped out from behind the podium, walked toward Marcus. He watched her approach, his expression unreadable. She stopped in front of him, looked down at Lily, then back at him. "Mr. Cole, Marcus, I can't undo what I did. I can't take back the humiliation or the pain or the nights you spent wondering how you would pay for your daughter's care. But I can tell you that I was wrong. Completely and absolutely wrong. And I'm sorry. Not because the cameras are watching. Not because the board told me to apologize. But because you deserved better. Your daughter deserved better, and I failed both of you." She reached into her pocket, pulled out a hard hat, the same one she'd thrown in the mud 2 weeks ago. She'd had it cleaned and restored. "I don't expect your forgiveness. I haven't earned it, but I want you to have this back. Because it belongs to you. Because you earned it. Because nobody had the right to take it from you." She held it out. Marcus looked at the hard hat, at the woman holding it, at the tears streaming down her face. He stood slowly, lifted Lily off his lap and set her on the chair. The crowd held its breath. He took the hard hat, held it for a moment. Then he spoke. When I was in Afghanistan, I learned that there are two kinds of people in a crisis. People who break and people who bend. The ones who break are the ones who can't admit they were wrong. They double down on their mistakes until the mistakes destroy them. He paused. The ones who bend are the ones who can look at themselves honestly, who can say, I failed and mean it, who can change. He looked at Victoria. What you did to me was wrong. You took my dignity. You threatened my daughter's future. You made me feel like nothing when I'd spent my whole life trying to be something. Victoria's face crumpled. But standing here today admitting all of that in front of cameras and your employees and the whole world, that takes courage. The same courage you accused me of not having. He held out his hand. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, but I can respect what you did today. And maybe that's a start. Victoria stared at his hand. Then she took it. The crowd exhaled. Some people cheered, some cried. Ray Patterson was definitely crying now, and not pretending otherwise. Lily tugged at Marcus's uniform. Daddy, is she going to be nice now? Marcus looked down at his daughter, then at Victoria. I don't know, baby. I think she's going to try. Victoria knelt down to Lily's level. I'm going to try very hard, I promise. Okay. Lily tilted her head. You know what my daddy says? He says trying isn't enough. You have to do. Victoria laughed. A real laugh. The first one in longer than she could remember. Your daddy is a smart man. I'm going to do. I promise. Lily considered this. Then she reached out and patted Victoria's hand. Good. Because my daddy needs a job. And you owe him one. The crowd burst into laughter. Real healing laughter. Marcus shook his head. Lily. What? It's true. Victoria stood, wiped her eyes, looked at Marcus. She's right. I do owe you one. And not just any job. She pulled an envelope from her jacket, the same one she'd brought to his apartment. Director of Technical Operations. The position is still open, and before you say no, hear me out. Marcus crossed his arms. I'm listening. I don't want you to take this job because you need the money. I want you to take it because you're the best engineer I've ever seen, because you could transform this company, because you could teach the next generation of workers the things you know. And if I say no, then I'll respect your decision. But I'll keep asking, because I meant what I said. You deserve better, and I want to be the one who gives it to you. Marcus looked at the envelope, at Victoria, at the crowd of workers watching, at Lily, who was nodding enthusiastically. Take it, Daddy. Take it. He shook his head again, but he was smiling now. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. Colonel Harrison returned to the podium, clearly moved by what he'd witnessed. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've all seen something remarkable today. Not just the honoring of a hero, but the beginning of something else. Reconciliation. Redemption. The possibility of change. He looked at Marcus and Victoria standing side by side. Staff Sergeant Cole, Ms. Sterling, would you join me for the final ceremony? They walked to the podium together, an unlikely pair, enemies becoming something else. Harrison produced a folded flag. This flag flew over the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. It now flies for you, Sergeant Cole, in recognition of your service to this country. He handed it to Marcus. Marcus held it carefully, reverently. The weight of it was nothing. The meaning of it was everything. Thank you, he said quietly. This belongs to Rodriguez, Thompson, Ewan, and Martinez as much as it belongs to me. They're the real heroes. I'm just the one who lived. Harrison saluted. Marcus returned it. The crowd erupted one final time. After the ceremony, the crowd dispersed slowly. Workers came up to shake Marcus's hand. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Through it all, Marcus kept Lily close. His anchor, his reason. Ray Patterson pushed through the crowd, grabbed Marcus in a bear hug. I'm proud of you, son. Damn proud. Thanks, Ray, for everything. So you going to take the job? Marcus looked at Victoria, who stood nearby talking to Colonel Harrison. I don't know yet. Well, figure it out fast, because there's about 100 workers here who would follow you anywhere. They need a leader, a real one. Ray slapped him on the shoulder and walked away. Mrs. Chen appeared next, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. That was beautiful, Mr. Cole. Just beautiful. Thank you for watching Lily, for everything you've done. She's an angel. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. She hugged Lily, then disappeared into the crowd. Finally, Victoria approached. Mr. Cole, I know you need time to think, but before you go, there's something I want you to see. What? Come with me. She led them across the site, away from the crowds, to a small office building Marcus had never been inside. She opened a door, gestured for them to enter. Inside was a fully furnished office, desk, computer, bookshelves, a view of the entire construction site, and on the wall already framed Lily's drawing of a bridge with a dragon on it. Marcus stopped breathing. How did you get this? I asked Mrs. Chen. She let me borrow it while you were in Chile. Victoria's voice was soft. I thought, if you took the job, you should have something that reminds you why you do this. Lily gasped. My picture, Daddy? She put my picture on the wall? Marcus stared at the drawing, at his daughter's crayon lines, at the bridge he'd described to her so many times. This office, he said slowly, it would be mine. If you want it. The salary, the benefits, everything we discussed, plus something else. What? Victoria handed him another document. Full scholarship to Arizona State University School of Engineering, in your name, for Lily, when she's old enough. Marcus's hands shook. Why are you doing this? Because I destroyed something, and I need to build something to replace it. She paused. Isn't that what engineers do? Lily tugged his hand. Daddy, I can go to college and learn to build bridges. Marcus knelt down, looked at his daughter's face, at the hope shining in her eyes. Yeah, baby. You can go to college. You can learn to build anything you want. She threw her arms around his neck. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. He held her tight. Over her shoulder, he looked at Victoria. Okay, he said. Okay, I'll take the job. Victoria's face transformed. Relief and joy and something like gratitude all mixed together. Thank you. You won't regret this. I better not. She laughed. I promise. Whatever you need, whatever it takes, this time I'm going to get it right. Marcus stood, extended his hand. Then let's get to work. They shook hands. Behind them, through the window, the Arizona sun blazed over the construction site where everything had fallen apart and was now slowly being built back up. 3 weeks passed. Marcus Cole walked into Sterling Construction every morning at 6 a.m., the same time he used to punch in as a laborer. Old habits died hard, but everything else had changed. His office overlooked the entire site. Workers waved when they saw him at the window. Some saluted, half joking, half serious. He always waved back. The job was different than he expected. Not just designing, not just calculating. Leading, teaching, building something bigger than structures. Ray Patterson knocked on his door that first Monday. How's the new office treating you? Feels strange. Too clean. Too quiet. Ray laughed. Give it time. You'll make it yours. I already did. Marcus pointed at the wall. Lily's bridge drawing hung in a frame next to his military commendations. Most important decoration in the room. Smart man. Never forget what you're fighting for. Ray settled into a chair. His weathered face was serious now. I want you to know something. The guys out there, the workers, they respect you. Not because of the medals or the ceremony. Because you were one of them. You swung hammers and poured concrete and showed up every day just like they do. I was one of them, still am. That's exactly why they'll follow you. That's exactly why this is going to work. Marcus looked out the window. Men and women moving with purpose. Cranes lifting steel. The skeleton of a building rising toward the sky. I spent 8 years trying to disappear Ray, trying to be invisible, and now everyone knows who I am. Is that a bad thing? I don't know yet. Ray stood, clapped him on the shoulder. You'll figure it out. You always do. He walked out, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and the ghosts he still carried. That afternoon, Victoria appeared in his doorway. Got a minute? Marcus gestured to the chair Ray had vacated. What do you need? I wanted to give you an update on the Rodriguez Foundation. Marcus tensed at the name. What about it? Victoria had proposed the foundation 2 weeks ago. A scholarship program for children of fallen soldiers, named after Carlos Rodriguez, the first of Marcus's men to die in Afghanistan. The board had approved it unanimously. We've received over 200 applications already, families from all over the country. Some of them sent letters. She placed a folder on his desk. I thought you should see them. Marcus opened the folder slowly. Letters, handwritten mostly, from widows, from children, from parents who'd lost sons and daughters. Dear Mr. Cole, I never knew my father. He died when I was 2. But knowing that someone remembered him, that someone built something in his name, it means more than I can say. To whoever created this foundation, thank you for not forgetting. So many people forget. But you remembered, and that matters. My husband served with Sergeant Rodriguez. He told me stories about him, about all of them. They were heroes, and now their names will live on. Marcus closed the folder. His hands were shaking. Are you okay? Victoria asked. No, but that's okay. He looked up at her. This is a good thing you're doing. It's a good thing we're doing. I just wrote the checks. You gave it meaning. She stood to leave, then hesitated. Marcus, can I ask you something personal? Depends on what it is. The 4 men you lost, do you still see them in your head? He was quiet for a long moment. Every day, every night, they're always there. Does it ever get easier? No, but it gets different. The sharp edges round off. The screaming fades to whispers. You learn to carry them instead of being crushed by them. Victoria nodded slowly. I've been carrying something too. My father. The way he died. The mess he left behind. The expectations I could never meet. That's a heavy load. Not as heavy as yours. Pain isn't a competition. It just is. She smiled sadly. You're a good man, Marcus Cole. Better than anyone I've ever known. I'm just a man trying not to fail the people counting on me. That's what good men do. She walked out. Marcus turned back to the window. Watched the sun move across the sky. Thought about Rodriguez and Thompson and Ewan and Martinez. Thought about the foundation that would carry their names forward. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was how you honored the dead. Not by drowning in guilt, but by building something that would outlast the grief. 2 weeks before Lily's surgery, Marcus took her to the hospital for pre-op testing. She was scared. He could see it in the way she gripped his hand, the way her eyes darted around the sterile hallways. Daddy, I don't like hospitals. I know, baby. Me neither. Do I really have to do this? He knelt down in front of her, took both her hands. Remember what we talked about, the bird trapped in your chest? She nodded. The doctors are going to help set it free, and after that you're going to feel so much better. You'll be able to run and play without getting tired. You'll be able to do anything you want. Will it hurt? A little. But I'll be right there when you wake up. I promise. You always keep your promises. Always. Dr. Patel appeared in the hallway. Kind eyes. Gentle voice. There's my favorite patient. How are you feeling, Lily? Scared. That's okay. Being scared is normal. But you know what, I've done this surgery hundreds of times, and I'm very, very good at it. Lily looked at him suspiciously. How good? So good that after you're healed, you'll be able to outrun your dad. She glanced at Marcus. Daddy's pretty fast. I know, but you're going to be faster. The tiniest smile appeared on her face. Promise, promise. Dr. Patel led them through the testing. Blood work, imaging, consultations. Through it all, Lily held Marcus's hand and didn't let go. Afterward, they sat in the hospital cafeteria. Lily picked at a chocolate chip cookie. Daddy! Yeah, baby. What if something goes wrong? His heart clenched. Nothing is going to go wrong. But what if it does? What if I don't wake up? He pulled his chair closer, took her face in his hands. Lily, look at me. She looked. I have spent my entire life building things. Bridges, tunnels, roads. I built them in deserts and mountains and war zones. And you know what I've learned? What? That nothing I've ever built is as strong as you. You are the toughest, bravest, most incredible person I've ever known. And you are going to get through this. We are going to get through this. Together. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You really think I'm brave? Baby, you've been fighting since the day you were born. You've been dealing with doctors and medications and being careful when other kids get to run free. And you've never complained, not once. That's not just brave, that's heroic. She threw her arms around him. He held her tight. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart. More than all the bridges in the world. The night before the surgery, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat in Lily's room watching her breathe, the same way he'd done 1,000 nights before, counting breaths, listening for wheezes, praying to whoever might be listening. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. How are you holding up? He typed back, not great. I figured, want some company? He hesitated. Then, sure. 20 minutes later, she was at his door. I brought coffee and donuts. Hospital gift shop was closed, but the gas station was open. Gas station donuts, my favorite. They sat at the kitchen table in silence for a while. Two people who had been enemies, now something else. Not quite friends, but allies maybe. Survivors of their own battles. Thank you for coming, Marcus said finally. Thank you for letting me. I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong. Every complication. Every risk. I've read the medical literature. I know the statistics. Statistics don't mean anything for individuals. Lily isn't a number. She's a fighter. I know. But knowing doesn't stop the fear. Victoria reached across the table, touched his hand. When my father died, I was 29. I thought I was prepared. I'd watched him decline for months. I knew it was coming. But when it actually happened, I fell apart. Completely. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. Marcus looked at her. What got you through it? Honestly, nothing. For a while, nothing helped. I just endured. 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, until eventually the hours started to hurt less. That's not exactly encouraging. No, but it's true. And sometimes truth is better than false comfort. He nodded slowly. I've been through a lot of hard things. Afghanistan, losing my team, losing my wife. But this, waiting for my daughter to go under the knife, this is different. This is worse. Because you can't control it. Exactly. In the field I could make decisions, take action. Here I just have to wait, trust other people to save her. That's the hardest thing for people like us. Control freaks. We'd rather face danger ourselves than watch someone we love face it alone. Marcus looked toward Lily's room. She asked me what happens if something goes wrong. What if she doesn't wake up? And I didn't know what to say. Because the truth is I don't have an answer. If something happens to her, I don't know how I'd survive it. Victoria's grip on his hand tightened. You would survive it. Because that's what you do. You survive, you endure, you keep going. She paused. But it's not going to come to that. Lily is going to be fine. She's going to wake up and smile at you and ask for ice cream, and you're going to be there to give it to her. How can you be so sure? Because I've seen miracles happen. I watched you save 12 people in Chile from a map and 30 seconds of analysis. I watched a man I destroyed stand up and shake my hand instead of punching me in the face. If those things can happen, then a little girl can survive a surgery. Marcus almost smiled. That's a strange kind of faith. It's the only kind I have. Faith in people, in stubbornness, in the refusal to give up. They sat together until dawn, not talking much, just existing in the same space. Two broken people holding each other together. When the sun came up, Victoria stood. I should go. Let you get ready. Victoria. Yeah. Thank you for everything, for the job, for the foundation, for being here tonight. I know I gave you a hard time, but you've changed, and I see it. Her eyes glistened. That means more than you know. She left. Marcus walked to Lily's room, sat on the edge of her bed, watched her sleep for a few more precious minutes. Then he gently shook her shoulder. Wake up, sweetheart. It's time. The surgery lasted 6 hours. Marcus sat in the waiting room the entire time. Ray came. Victoria came. Mrs. Chen came. Even Colonel Harrison made an appearance. They brought food he didn't eat, coffee he didn't drink, words of comfort he didn't hear. All he could do was stare at the doors leading to the operating room, waiting, praying. At hour 4, a nurse came out. Mr. Cole, the surgery is going well. Dr. Patel wanted you to know. How much longer? A couple more hours, but everything looks good. Everything looks good. 3 words. They didn't stop the fear, but they made it bearable. At hour 6, Dr. Patel walked through the doors. Marcus was on his feet before he knew he'd moved. How is she? Is she okay? What happened? Dr. Patel smiled. She's perfect. The surgery was a complete success. The valve replacement went exactly as planned. No complications. She's in recovery now. Marcus's legs gave out. He would have fallen if Ray hadn't caught him. She's okay. She's more than okay. She's going to make a full recovery. In a few months you won't even be able to tell she had surgery. The room erupted. Victoria was crying. Mrs. Chen was praying. Ray was laughing and slapping Marcus on the back. Marcus just stood there, trembling. Tears streaming down his face. Can I see her? In a few minutes. She's still waking up from anesthesia, but I promise you'll be the first face she sees. Lily looked so small in the hospital bed. Tubes and wires everywhere, monitors beeping softly, her face pale against the white sheets. But she was alive, breathing, her chest rising and falling steadily. Marcus sat beside her, took her small hand in his. Hey, baby. I'm here. Daddy's here. Her eyes fluttered, opened slowly. Daddy. Right here, sweetheart. Right here. Did they fix the bird? He laughed through his tears. Yeah, baby. They fixed the bird. It's going to fly free now. She smiled weakly. Good. Can I have ice cream? Marcus looked at the nurse who was smiling. She nodded. You can have all the ice cream you want. Even the kind with rainbow sprinkles. Especially the kind with rainbow sprinkles. Lily closed her eyes again, still smiling. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart. I knew you'd be here when I woke up. You always keep your promises. He kissed her forehead. Let the tears fall. Always, baby. Always. 6 months later. The Sterling Construction Office building was complete. 20 stories of steel and glass rising over downtown Phoenix. a testament to what people could build when they worked together. Marcus stood on the roof, looking out over the city. Lily stood beside him, holding his hand. "Daddy, we built this." "We sure did, sweetheart. It's the biggest thing I've ever seen. And it's going to be here for 100 years, maybe longer. Long after we're gone, people will look at this building and know that someone cared enough to build it right." Lily thought about this. That's kind of like being immortal, right? If the building lasts forever, part of us lasts forever too. Marcus looked at his daughter, 7 years old, healthy now, running everywhere, laughing all the time. The surgery had given her a new life. "Yeah, baby, that's exactly what it's like." The door to the roof opened. Victoria stepped out. "There you are. The dedication ceremony is about to start. We're coming." They walked downstairs together, through hallways filled with workers and dignitaries, through doors that opened onto a plaza filled with people. A podium had been set up in front of the building. Cameras everywhere. Press, employees, families of workers, and 4 people Marcus had never met but recognized immediately from photos. Maria Rodriguez, Susan Thompson, David Ewan, Patricia Martinez, the families of the 4 men he'd lost in Afghanistan. His heart stopped. Victoria leaned close. "I invited them. I hope that's okay." "You? Why?" "Because they deserve to be here, and because you deserve to see them." Maria Rodriguez stepped forward, older now, gray in her hair, but the same warm eyes from the photo Carlos had carried everywhere. "Sergeant Cole, Mrs. Rodriguez, I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything. Just listen." She took his hands. "My husband loved you. He wrote about you in every letter. He said you were the best leader he'd ever served under. He said he would follow you anywhere." "I led him to his death." "No. You led him to his purpose. Carlos always wanted to be a hero. You gave him that chance. You let him die doing something that mattered." Tears streamed down Marcus's face. "He would be so proud of you," Maria continued, "of what you've built, of the man you've become, of that beautiful little girl." She hugged him. And something that had been broken inside him for 8 years finally began to heal. One by one, the other families embraced him. Susan Thompson, David Ewan, Patricia Martinez, each one with words of gratitude instead of blame. Each one releasing a weight he'd carried for so long. When it was over, Marcus stood alone for a moment, breathing, processing. Lily tugged his hand. "Daddy, are you okay?" He looked down at her bright eyes, her healthy cheeks, her future engineer shirt. "Yeah, baby, I think I'm finally okay." The dedication ceremony was brief. Victoria spoke about the building, about the workers who built it, about the company's new direction. Then she introduced Marcus. He walked to the podium on shaky legs, looked out at the crowd. Hundreds of faces looking back. "I'm not good at speeches," he began. "I'm better with blueprints than words. But I want to say something about what this building represents." He paused, gathered his thoughts. 8 months ago, I was fired from this company, thrown out for doing my job too well. I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lost everything. He looked at Victoria. But I was wrong. Because sometimes you have to lose everything before you can find what really matters. I lost my pride that day, my dignity, my sense of self. And I found something better. I found people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I found second chances. I found forgiveness. He looked at the families of his fallen soldiers. For 8 years I carried the weight of 4 deaths. 4 men who trusted me. 4 friends who followed me into the darkness. I thought that weight would crush me. I thought I deserved to be crushed. His voice cracked. But those men didn't die so I could spend my life grieving. They died so others could live. They died being heroes. And the best way I can honor them isn't by punishing myself. It's by building. It's by teaching. It's by raising a daughter who will change the world. He looked at Lily standing in the front row with Ray Patterson. This building is dedicated to Rodriguez, Thompson, Ewan, and Martinez. 4 ordinary men who did extraordinary things. Their names are engraved in the lobby. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. And as long as this building stands, as long as the foundation we created helps one more child, as long as even one person remembers what they gave, they will be immortal. He stepped back from the podium. The crowd erupted in applause, but Marcus didn't hear it. All he could hear was Lily shouting above the crowd, "That's my daddy! That's my daddy!" And for the first time in 8 years, he felt worthy of those words. That night, after the ceremony, after the celebrations, Marcus sat on his new apartment balcony. Victoria had helped him find the place. 3 bedrooms, good school district, a view of the mountains. Lily had her own room for the first time in her life. She was asleep now, exhausted from the excitement of the day. Her steady breathing drifted through the open door. Marcus held the dog tags in his hand. Rodriguez, Thompson, Ewan, Martinez. "I don't know if you can hear me," he said quietly. "I don't know if there's anything after this life, but if there is, I want you to know that I finally understand." He looked up at the stars. "You didn't die because I failed. You died because you chose to be heroes. And the best thing I can do, the only thing I can do, is make sure your choice meant something." He unclasped the chain, held the tags for one last moment. Then he walked inside, opened Lily's door, knelt beside her bed. "These belong to some very brave men," he whispered. "Someday when you're older, I'll tell you their stories. But for now, I want you to keep them safe." He slipped the tags into her small jewelry box, the one she kept her treasures in. Rocks from the playground, a feather she found at the park, the challenge coin Colonel Harrison had given her, and now 4 names that would never be forgotten. He kissed her forehead, walked back to the balcony. The night was quiet, peaceful, the kind of night he used to fear because silence gave the ghosts room to scream. But tonight the ghosts were quiet. Tonight, for the first time in 8 years, Marcus Cole felt at peace. 1 year later, Marcus stood in front of a classroom at Arizona State University. 30 engineering students looked up at him expectantly. "Welcome to Advanced Structural Engineering. I'm Marcus Cole. Some of you might know my story. Most of you probably don't. That's fine. I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to teach you how to build the future." He picked up a piece of chalk, drew a simple bridge on the board. A bridge is more than steel and concrete. It's a promise that people can get from one side to the other safely, that they can trust what you've built with their lives. He turned to face the class. That's what engineering is. Trust. Responsibility. The knowledge that every calculation you make, every decision you take affects real people, families, children, lives. A hand went up. Young woman in the front row. "Professor Cole, is it true you built an extraction route in Afghanistan that saved 47 soldiers?" Marcus smiled. "It's true, and you know what I learned from that experience." "What?" "That it's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the person who doesn't give up. The person who keeps looking for solutions when everyone else says there aren't any. The person who builds when others destroy." He looked around the classroom. "That's what I want to teach you. Not just formulas and calculations, but the mindset, the determination, the refusal to accept failure as final." He set down the chalk. "Any questions?" The same young woman raised her hand again. "What's the most important thing you've ever built?" Marcus thought about the bridges in Afghanistan, the building in Phoenix, the foundation carrying 4 names. Then he thought about Lily, about her laugh, her dreams, her future. "My daughter," he said quietly. "She's the most important thing I've ever built. Everything else is just practice." Graduation day, 15 years later. Marcus sat in the audience, gray in his hair, now lines on his face. Beside him sat Victoria Sterling, still CEO of the company, still fighting, still growing. On stage, a young woman in cap and gown approached the podium. Lily Cole, 22 years old, valedictorian. 14 years ago, she began. I had heart surgery that saved my life. I was 7 years old and terrified. But my dad sat beside my bed and told me something I've never forgotten. He said that nothing he'd ever built was as strong as me. She looked at Marcus. For a long time I didn't understand what he meant, but I understand now. Strength isn't about muscle or power. It's about getting up when you fall. It's about fighting when you're scared. It's about building when everything around you is falling apart. She smiled. My dad taught me that. He taught me that engineers don't just build bridges and buildings. We build hope. We build connections. We build futures. She held up her diploma. This is for you, Dad. For every sacrifice you made. For every double shift you worked. For every nightmare you fought so I could dream. I am who I am because you never gave up on me. Marcus was crying openly now. He didn't care who saw. And this is for Rodriguez, Thompson, Ewan, and Martinez. 4 men I never met but carry with me every day. Their dog tags are in my jewelry box at home. Their names are engraved on a building downtown, and their legacy lives on in every structure I will ever build. She raised her voice. Class of 2040, we are engineers. We are builders. We are the people who turn dreams into reality. So go out there and build something amazing. Build something that lasts. Build something that matters. She stepped back from the podium. The crowd erupted. And Marcus Cole, former soldier, former outcast father of the most amazing woman he'd ever known, stood and cheered louder than anyone. That night, Marcus and Lily sat on the balcony of the apartment they still shared. The city spread out before them, buildings rising, lights glowing, a world being built and rebuilt every day. I'm proud of you, Marcus said. More proud than I've ever been of anything. I learned from the best. You surpassed the best. You're going to change the world, Lily. She leaned her head on his shoulder, just like she used to when she was 7. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart. Do you still see them, Rodriguez and Thompson and Ewan and Martinez? He was quiet for a moment. Sometimes, but not like I used to. They're not ghosts anymore. They're just memories. Good memories, mostly. Of who they were, what they meant. Do you think they'd be proud of you? I think so. I hope so. I know so. She squeezed his hand. You built something amazing, Dad. Not just buildings, not just careers. You built a life. A real life. Out of all that pain and guilt and fear. I had help. We all do. That's the point. She sat up. Remember what you always told me, that the best engineers don't work alone. They build teams. They trust people. They ask for help. I taught you that. You taught me everything. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the woman she'd become, at the future stretching out before her, and he realized something. He'd spent so many years trying to atone for the 4 men he lost, trying to earn forgiveness he thought he didn't deserve, trying to prove that their deaths meant something. But the meaning was right here, in this moment, in this person. Lily was his bridge, his extraction route, his masterpiece. She was the proof that even the most broken things could be rebuilt. I love you, Lily. I love you too, Dad. Always. They sat together as the city lights sparkled below. Father and daughter, survivor and legacy. The end of one story and the beginning of another. And somewhere in a place beyond maps and calculations, 4 soldiers watched over them. Not as ghosts, not as burdens, but as guardians, as witnesses, as proof that sacrifice is never wasted when it creates something beautiful. Marcus Cole had spent his whole life building things, bridges that spanned canyons, tunnels that burrowed through mountains, buildings that scraped the sky. But the thing he was most proud of was sitting right beside him. And that was enough. That was everything. Because in the end, we are not measured by what we lose. We are measured by what we build from the ashes. And Marcus Cole had built something that would last forever.